As night fell on Thursday, August 12, 2004, the Tampa Bay area braced for the worst storm it had seen in 83 years. All of the forecasts had powerful Hurricane Charley making a beeline for the Pinellas County coast. The area's emergency operations centers were on highest alert, evacuating nearly 400,000 people from the path of this potential killer. Mere hours before Charley was to make landfall, it turned sharply to the east, coming ashore just north of Fort Myers. While the Tampa Bay area was spared, the path of destruction cut across the state from Sanibel to Daytona. Immediately after the storm passed, ambulances, police cars, fire trucks, and other heavy equipment were on the way from Pinellas County, assisting with one of the largest mutual aid efforts in the state's history. Just 1 week after the storm's landfall, videographer Tony Smith and I caught a ride to Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, two of the most devastated cities, with representatives of Pinellas County's Emergency Communications Department to see the recovery effort in action. One of the first things I noticed on Interstate 75 South was the number of vehicles coming from other places to offer aid. Caravans of relief trucks and recovery workers, many from out of state, were descending on the hardest hit areas. At first, damage appeared minimal. Since Charley's most intense winds were centered very close to the eye, the worst destruction was confined to a narrow path. The further south we traveled, Charley's effects became more visible. Trees snapped in half, billboards blown apart. Even these light posts, designed to withstand the force of heavy winds, were bent in half by the strong gusts. We followed the trail of destruction to the Charlotte County Emergency Operations Center, also known as the EOC, and couldn't believe our eyes. Recreational vehicles were overturned, and the Charlotte County Airport was demolished. When we arrived, National Guard soldiers assigned to security greeted us. Law enforcement vehicles from around the state filled the parking lot, testament to the awesome relief effort pouring in. Local restaurants chipped in to feed the relief workers. The building had taken serious damage. The roof was peeled back and tossed into a nearby field. In fact, it was hard to look anywhere and not see damage. Despite the debris, the Charlotte County EOC kept working, even under a makeshift roof. On our way to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Command Post in Port Charlotte, I started to notice some other things, like the Baptist Church set up as an impromptu relief center. A hand-painted sign out front offered free food, ice, and water, and people were taking them up on the offer. We turned into Punta Gorda looking for Route 41 North to take us back over the Peace River into Port Charlotte. As we slowly made our way through the center of town, it was another bizarre sight. No electricity, no street signs, no stoplights, no way to know where you were, but people knew what they had to do. The Charlotte Regional Medical Center was swarming with workers, maybe 50 or so, re-roofing the facility in order to get ready to treat the injured. The post office was open, and cars were lining up to get their mail. A restaurant defiantly advertising on a sheet of plywood, "We're open. We never closed." As we made our way through town, the lack of normal traffic control jammed traffic. The Peace River was littered with at least half a dozen sunken boats. A mast or the point of a bow, the only telltale signs. Further up Route 41, we found the base of operations, a heavily damaged shopping mall. Workers were building a mountain of debris to be carted away. We turned in and found the Pinellas Command Vehicle, home of Camp Charley's Angels. Deputies from Pinellas, Palm Beach, and Manatee counties were working hard when we arrived, planning their course of action. After the interviews with commanders for the Pinellas and Palm Beach departments, I was told that if I really wanted to see what was going on, I needed to throw ice with the deputies. We jumped on board the waiting truck and went along for the ride. After a short drive through some heavily damaged areas, we turned onto the first street in our run, one that started with very little headroom. Some houses appeared to be untouched, while others had no roofs. The buzz of generators filled the air. Roof shingles, tree branches, and insulation were strewn everywhere. But the people were resilient, eager to get their homes in order. They were on their roofs fixing what they could. Others are cleaning out the yards, making chest-high piles of debris to be carted away. Neighbors helped neighbors salvage what they could. Within moments, the deputies were quickly off the ice trailer, helping distribute its cool relief to hot, tired residents. Like a carnival barker, the truck's driver was alerting homeowners to their whereabouts.
Residents of Gertrude Avenue, if you need ice, we got it. Come on.
While it's easy to be overcome by the sheer size of the impact, The individual stories I witnessed really brought the magnitude of Charley's effects into clear focus. There was the lady whose daughter had been operated on shortly before the storm hit. Whenever ice was delivered, this was the house they stopped at first to make sure the mom had enough to keep her little girl cool.
I have a child with special needs, so these deputies have been the greatest.
Others are busy providing information about where residents could get food and water. A group of deputies helped clear some twisted aluminum scrap out of an elderly lady's carport so she could sit outside to catch some of the breezes.
Nice and cold, cool you off? Give it a big hug.
And where some little kids were playing, a deputy shares the cool from a bag of ice to give kids a break from the sweltering heat. It wasn't just the neighbors who were being generous either. These tire shop owners couldn't do enough to help our deputies stay on the road.
Got anything I can help you with? I got some tires, I'm giving them away. Keep you guys in the road.
Old ice coming your way, get to Fort Mounts.
Once the ice was gone, we were on the road to visit a mobile home park that took serious damage from the storm. Some of the structures still resembled mobile homes. They had distinct outside, but didn't allow access to the insides. Others, well, you might see a pile of lumber, a couch, and 2 walls that withstood the fury. One mobile home, manufactured to the stronger codes enacted after the destruction caused by Hurricane Andrew, simply flipped onto its side, still intact. Sheet aluminum lay bent into grotesque shapes, wrapped around permanently anchored items. Broken glass, destroyed particle board, and insulation littered the ground everywhere. Soon, a bulldozer would have to come to haul away what remained of the homes that Hurricane Charley had shattered. Before then, dazed residents tried hard to salvage what remained. The deputy we were riding with pointed out to me on the map that the trailer park was less than 1 mile away from where the eye passed, placing it squarely in the inner eye wall of the storm. The maximum winds were estimated to be 145 miles per hour. The park had no chance. We left the park and started back to Camp Charley's Angels when we turned onto an access road fronted by several strip malls. The first thing I noticed was that every single business sign had blown away, giving these once vibrant businesses a very strange, generic feeling. In one liquor store, a U-Haul truck had been blown into the store itself from the rental lot next door. The knee-high masonry wall was more or less intact, meaning that this large truck must have been lifted over the wall in order to land in the store. At another strip mall that had been torn apart by the high winds, we met Phil Robeson, a store owner. He spent nearly 2 harrowing hours in his store, huddled under the desk in his office, while the building was blown apart around him.
The sound was the proverbial freight train, and the gust was just, just the whole building was rocking.
Finally, we returned to Camp Charley's Angels. While we were out, grateful people were being helped with the basic necessities of life we take for granted. And, occasionally, you could see a smile.
How much ice did you want when you first came here?
2 bags of ice.
And what do we give you?
A whole lot of ice.
A whole lot of ice.
That's a lot of love.
And a lot of love.
As we loaded our gear, I could see dozens of people being helped in similar ways. No job is too small for the folks down here in Charlotte County. No person is too unimportant. Neighbors are helping neighbors, and complete strangers are helping out any way they can. The storm had taken a city and helped to make it a community. My day in Charlotte County was full of memories that will last a lifetime, and I learned some very valuable lessons, namely that a powerful storm can happen anywhere, and if it does hit, there's really no way to be fully prepared for the effects. Something that large can impact lives for months, even years after the winds subside. It's up to all of us to make sure we take the necessary precautions to protect our lives and those of our families, neighbors, and friends. That's why it's so important to know your evacuation level and evacuate when ordered. Put together your hurricane survival kit. Prepare your home to withstand heavy winds, and carefully monitor the weather throughout the hurricane season. After all, homes and businesses can be repaired, but only if there are people around to rebuild our communities.